Ecuador says temporary immigration rules brought in last week for Venezuelans will be because of fake IDs. Ecuador's Foreign Minister Jose Valencia says many countries require passports from migrants as a security measure. He also said it's not clear if Venezuelan migrants could be classed as refugees, but they can always fill out the paperwork. Argentina's currency continued to plunge even after President Mauricio Macri announced the IMF had agreed to bring forward payments in a massive bailout loan. And in a display of rising tensions, President of the Central Bank, Luis Caputo, was confronted by a protester at a restaurant. The angry protester demanded that Caputo answer for the austerity policies imposed on the country thanks to the IMF loan. Favelas in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil have grown by over 3,000 square meters in the past year alone, according to a recent study. The Pereira Passos Institute says the growth is due to a declining economy and a lack of social housing policies from the government. And those are the headlines at this hour. For these and more stories, go to our website at telesurtv.net/English.
Peace, this is G1.
This is Rod Stars.
Together we are Rebel Diaz.
We coming at you with a new episode of And You Don't Stop.
This week we cover the visit of Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro and his arrival into the South Bronx. Rod Stars hits the streets to talk to the people about Maduro in the Bronx. And we have the cool, amazing young band from Detroit by the name of Awkward Theory on Rooftop Live.
We gotta talk about what's going down. Nicolás Maduro, the president of Venezuela, the leader of the Bolivarian Revolution, came to the Bronx to Hostos Community College. And when you talk about the Bronx and even a space like Hostos, it was something that people fought for. The spirit of the Bronx, the spirit of poor people is alive and well here in the Bronx, and we show solidarity with the same way that the Bolivarian Revolution shows solidarity towards us, we show solidarity towards them. It's the way that poor people struggle together. So let's go check out what was going on and what the people had to say. There's a historic relationship of solidarity from the Bolivarian Revolution towards the people in the South Bronx. It started in 2005 when Hugo Chavez, Comandante Hugo Chavez, the late great revolutionary, came to the community of Hunts Point, and from this visit chose to support the poor people of the South Bronx by bringing low-cost heating oil to the community and giving people support through cold winters. That work and solidarity furthered into the Simón Bolívar Foundation, which has been giving yearly grants to community organizations and nonprofits that are doing work for education, culture, and social justice.
The evening began with a local youth orchestra sponsored by Venezuela's Simón Bolívar Foundation, which has continued the work begun under Petro Bronx of funding arts and culture in the South Bronx. The speeches kicked off after a blessing from Pastor Danilo, who leads a weekly food bank serving the area's poorest constituents. This project also recently received support from the Bolivarian Revolution.
Yo te pido, Señor, que tú ilumines la mente de cada uno de nuestro gobernante para que ellos, con una agenda de justicia, en un mundo lleno de desigualdades, puedan combatir la pobreza y la injusticia que azota a la mayoría de la humanidad.
Next, Wanda Salaman of local community organization Mothers on the Move spoke to the resilience of the South Bronx and its history of struggle.
El Bronx de mi niñez era un Bronx quemado, de edificios abandonados, de drogas y pandillas. Un Bronx de cada momento las personas se mudaban. Los recursos comunitarios no existían. Poco a poco, la comunidad empezó a coger conciencia y grupos comunitarios como el Northwest Wisconsin Clergy Coalition propone buenos formatos para crear asociaciones de inquilinos y desarrollo de líderes comunitarios.
President Nicolás Maduro took the stage to an enthusiastic crowd.
Quiero en primer lugar agradecer todo el calor del Bronx. ¡Que viva el Bronx! ¡Que viva Nueva York! ¡Que viva el pueblo bueno de los Estados Unidos!
After excusing himself for his late arrival due to traffic caused by President Obama's motorcade, Maduro went on to denounce attacks on Venezuela by U.S. mainstream media.
¡Qué coincidencia, casualidad de la vida! Que el Washington Post y el New York Times, nuestra visita a la Organización de Naciones Unidas, sacaron los dos una editorial dirigida a decir mentiras y a atacar al presidente Nicolás Maduro y a la República Bolivariana de Venezuela. Llamándolo ser autocero, sí me siento orgulloso de haber sido trabajador se nos desprecia, no podemos aceptarlo jamás, porque sabemos que todo el ataque contra Venezuela es para tratar de impedir que el ejemplo de una revolución democrática, popular, profundamente popular, con una profunda identidad latinoamericana, con la bandera de Bolívar y el espíritu y el ejemplo de este gigante Hugo Chávez, tratan de impedir que esa revolución siga cabalgando el siglo XXI y siga consolidándose social, económica, cultural, política.
The Bronx. Why have you come to see Nicolás Maduro speak to the people of the South Bronx?
I am here because, one, I'm excited that those people even here in the United States.
So, what makes you come to the South Bronx today? You gonna see what's going on inside?
I want to see the president of Venezuela.
Okay. And why do you want to see the president of Venezuela? What's going on with that?
Because he's a president?
Basically, my love for Venezuela and the Bolivarian revolutionary government there and the people in Venezuela who are pushing forward a new society. They're setting the example that we need to set here in this country and around the world, along with Cuba. And so we need to be here to support them the same way they supported us in the Bronx especially. And the fact that they come here to host those is really symbolic and powerful because that means that they never forget the people of the poor of the Bronx, the people of color in the Bronx who are struggling. So they could have picked anybody, anywhere else in the city to come to talk, and Maduro picked this spot. So I respect that a lot.
Maduro is president, but my support is not just for him as an individual, but for the people of Venezuela, who've had the courage to stand up to U.S. imperialism, along with Cuba and a few other nations. So that's why I'm here.
Well, it is because it is a history of liberation and freedom. You know, a man who wants to help without boundaries, without walls. As a religious leader, those are the people I should support, and I should continue to love and ask people to love them, and so on.
We just want to express our welcome. We brought, as you see, we brought a bouquet of flowers for the president to show our welcome, our appreciation of his gracious hospitality of the Jewish community in Venezuela and in his country, and yet he distinguishes between that and Zionism and the state of Israel, which is an occupation of another people or nationals that has nothing to do with our religion.
Yes, y'all. G1 here with another edition of And You Don't Stop Rooftop Live. We are back in the city of Detroit. We have the pleasure to have one of the upcoming groups coming out of Detroit. Their name is Awkward Theory. Peace, brothers. Thank you for being with us today. Share with the people your names.
Supreme Flows.
Gabriel Duran.
Feral Soul.
Brothers, y'all came together off of a group by the name of the Rise Up. Share a little bit about how that was working with the Rise Up as a youth organization, and now
when people come up, you know, they rap or they spit poetry. I met Feral Soul and Supreme Flows at the Rise Up, and we just started making music.
You as a beat maker, you as an MC, and you as a singer, how have these youth organizations helped you develop your craft within hip-hop culture?
I do beats and spit, so I'd come up with new beats and just practicing my craft. And also it's like something good in the community, you know what I mean? So like something you can just go do on Sunday, you ain't gotta worry about nothing else. You like going to Clark Park to go spit, you know, get off me, you know what I mean? That's how it was.
Well, it helped me a lot, like especially with freestyling and a lot of things like that, cause the Rise Up, you know, that's like an outlet. Like usually I'd be spitting with my fam or some of my boys or something in the crib, and then with the Rise Up, you can go outside and spit in front of a crowd, you know, and you just get better each time you go out. So it was a real good thing.
I think it's really important to have like youth programs like that throughout our communities. You know, it brings music back to the community, and you know, it lets the youth engage in, you know, their culture, you know, whether it be, you know, hip hop, you know, I don't know, music from South America, stuff like that. It's good to have youth programs that, you know, have music in our communities when the schools won't provide them anymore.
I speak these words with my pain. Hopefully it comes with change. I still feel like I'm falling, falling, falling. I speak these words with my pain. Hopefully it comes with change. I still feel like I'm falling, falling, falling.
Look, it's like I'm falling, I'll never get to help me rock another continent. It's like we're living the fall and then we rotten meat. I feel like rioting for the way society's dieting. They're not liking me, fuck your economy. I'm from where the only option for opposition is to be obsolete. That's the state of mind you're giving in a stage of dust. They thought we dangerous and thus they started caging us. I bet you playing us until the day you could start slaying us. Ain't no taming us, the message of our entertainment buzz. I only spit just to seize the pain. A bit of rage still remains in this poet's lane. You see, I feel it in my veins. To grab the pistol, then I aim at my temple to release these monsters on my fucking brain.
I speak these words with my pain. Hopefully it comes with change. I still feel like I'm falling, falling, falling.
I'm falling down.
I speak these words with my pain. Hopefully it comes with change. I still feel like I'm falling, falling, falling.
Down, I've lost track of time. Can't seem to hold these thoughts inside my head like I used to when I'm only running out of time. My dear, go. As much as I'd like to share the reasons why they're here, some actually live themselves after hours. I'd rather spare your time from these stories that bore me. Worry about the life that I'm living, my dear. But I swear as it comes better for the both of us. So put your hands up, put your hands up, put your hands up. Look, so put your hands up, put your hands up, put your hands up.
Peace, this is G1.
Peace, this is Rod Stars.
And together we are Rebel Diaz.
And we coming at you with a new episode of Inya.
Today, we follow up with the Bolivarian Revolution and their visit to the South Bronx. Rod Stars hits the streets to continue the conversation. Continuing to speak on the UN climate talks, Maduro rejected the rise of what he called green capitalism and his continued attacks on our environment.
Pretende robarle la bandera a los movimientos ambientalistas y ecologistas del mundo y ponerle nuevo rostro al mismo monstruo. Ahora la quieren llamar economía verde, al mismo monstruo que ha destruido los ríos, los mares, ha contaminado y ha saciado la riqueza y ha explotado las fuentes durante más de 100 años de capitalismo en el mundo. Economía verde lo llaman ahora. Claro que tiene de verde. Lo único que tiene de verde los dólares que se quieren meter los banqueros negociando la destrucción del planeta. Como si no fuera.
Finally, Maduro made sure to make note of the day, September 23rd, as Grito de Lares in Puerto Rico, and also the anniversary of the FBI assassination of Puerto Rican artista Filiberto Ojeda Ríos.
Una agencia de noticias de esta que miente mucho sobre nosotros me preguntaba, ¿es verdad que en Venezuela hay presos políticos? Es que donde hay bastantes presos políticos aquí en Estados Unidos, empezando por Carlos Rivera. Creo que pronto pudiera y lograr su libertad. Me gustaría conocer lo que fuera Caracas y llevarlo allá, donde están los restos del libertador Bolívar, y darle un abrazo de agradecimiento por tantos tratamientos realmente oprobiosos, con vejámenes diarios a él y a su familia. Hombre nuestro, así.
I know I'm doing word on the streets, but we had to get up in here to make sure that we can cover Nicolás Maduro. Earlier, I was outside. We follow up with a little bit more from last episode in which we get more word on the street from people talking about hashtag Maduro in the Bronx. Why would a president from Venezuela come all the way to the South Bronx? Obama never came to the South Bronx. Let's talk to the people of the community, the folks that were waiting in line, and see what they felt about it. Out of all places, why they come to Hostos in the Bronx? What do you think is that connection?
I think the connection is the Latino connection, number one, and also is one of the poorest areas in the city, and it's important for people here to know what's going on, because everybody down Midtown gets all the information to UN, but bring things to the community where the people are, and I think
but the Bronx is like known worldly, like a place for the people, and he, you know, he gets that, and that's why he's here with us. So it's great that he chooses this place.
It speaks volumes that someone from all the way on the other side of the world would think about us here in the South Bronx. It's just like, wow. Like, it shows like our struggles are the same, and if they see like this is something that can be duplicated, like people need to start seeing how this worked and start this somewhere else.
For one, the Bronx is one of the poorest counties in the United States. He's showing solidarity to poor people who live here, and that's something that Chavez did. It's just going down the legacy. You being part of Rebel DS Arts Collective, you know the legacy, what a revolutionary could look like and what a revolution could look like here.
First of all, just the idea of social equality among all races, religions, ethnicities. That's one of the main points, is economic and social justice. So, I mean, that's the way.
Liberation, man, revolution. I had the privilege of going to Venezuela and visiting with the Caracas Council, City Council, when Hugo Chavez was the president. Hugo Chavez, Fidel Castro, Che Guevara, Kwame Nkrumah, the Black Panther Party. Revolutionaries are my heroes, and to see Brother Maduro, you know, taking Hugo's place to continue that revolution. Where else could you go in the world and get free health care, you know, free education, other than Cuba, Venezuela, socialist countries? And here in America, the richest country in the world, you know, people are starving. People can't afford health care. Workers can't get paid.
Here in Detroit with more words, conversation, and music with Awkward Theory. Thank you again, brothers, for being with us. Y'all music and y'all inspiration with the words y'all spitting is what's up. So, brothers, we know that in Detroit, we're facing a humanitarian crisis here in Detroit. How do you as young people bring this issue to the forefront through your culture and bring awareness to the people, whether it's messages of solidarity?
Out there and let people know, make people more aware, you know, because that's what it's all about with music. You gotta have a purpose when you write.
To go back to like our name, like apart from our like awkwardness, I don't know, sometimes the theory, like the awkward theory, the word theory, it has a lot to do with the way that we think, kids in our community, and we want to like, you know, like be like not like role models, but we want to like be an example, you know, for the youth like that are coming.
May not be the best that I have made.
Look,
1, 2, 3,
check.
4.
Lost in the crossroads. Directions ripple the syllables. How mistakes become a perfection. The extension of my soul goes without to be mentioned. I'm vented, lessons invented, intended for the demented. I reveal the universe in my palms. They say I need if I got it. My story probably is psalm, so I write this. Try to make something righteous out of my wrongs. They do to your mind control, though I'm still stuck on evolve. Truth is, in saliva and mucus, subtracted from the holes of the snakes in the hands of the stupid. Newest Buddhist, viewing music so fluent since back when I used to know that rap packs, and this is it. Spit the intricate fizzing with that belligerent intelligence. Awkward theory, relevant. Yo, awkward theory, relevant. Get 'em, look,
Watch when it's my time in the game. Flows crazy on the mic and I'ma rhyme till I'm sane. I hear these rappers say they real and I'll be finding it strange, cause they're ghosts sell they soul for some diamonds and chains.
Situation by, I was just sitting at the crib chilling. It was a regular day for me, a Saturday. I saw online the picture of his stepfather holding the sign saying that his unarmed son had been murdered by Ferguson PD. Then I started seeing pictures from the scene pop up, and I started to retweet those and share them and put them out. One of my friends that works for Al Jazeera, she retweeted something that I posted, and then my timeline lit up. That night to Canfield, when I got there, I saw some people I knew that actually used to live there. My cousin was one of them. He explained to me what had happened. I crossed the street to go talk to some people, and then on my way back across the street, I saw his blood in the middle of the street. And I was like, damn, you know, like, and they had dogs and shit. Some local D-boys had pushed them out the neighborhood. We didn't realize like how much of a stronghold the power struggle was in, because we just assumed that us as people could manipulate it and make them do what we wanted them to do. As we got further into it, they started to push back really hard. And that's when I knew like, damn, this might be something. You know, this might be something abnormal.
Hands up, don't shoot. Here comes the St. Louis County Police Department, continuing to advance their line. There it goes there, now firing onto the crowd. Out! That's one!
shit back! Fuck the police! Fuck the police! Throw that shit back! Give a fuck! Hands up! Don't shoot! Hands up! Not scared. Not just scared. Let us be us. Quit killing us. Quit fucking killing us.
Right under the bird giving us the light. You know what I mean? It went down tonight. We got here earlier. It was mad peaceful. We stepped out for like an hour. You know what I mean? And all of a sudden, police started acting up, shooting rubber bullets. Tell me, man, I'm talking about what I heard. Tell me what happened. You was here.
Man, we was good, bro. It's mad love, nothing but love. Like, everybody, they are now, dog. Like, you can't just say, oh, go home. Like, you shoot at us to make us go home. Like, what cops do that, bro? Like, y'all shoot at civilians to make them leave, dog. Like, come on, man. Well, where we at, bro? We in St. Louis, dog. Like, nah.
I've been stopped by the police plenty of times growing up in high school. I went to the military. I've been in the military since I was like 17. I'm 21 now.
How you feel about this, coming home to this?
I mean, like, me coming home to this here, they make my whole service seem like a fucking joke. Like, I went out there and risked my fucking life for nothing.
I got people in the Palestinian.
I don't say N-word. They treat us like straight niggas. They talking about everywhere around the world, human rights. Ain't nobody, whoever these people that violate human rights, they learned it from the best. They learned it from these white folks. Ain't nobody, they used to hate black new breed here. They ain't scared, I'm telling you. You can't bring that old punk stuff to them. They not doing it. And all these Arkansas Negroes that they sending down there, NAACP and the rest of them, they talking from some room. They can't come on the street and talk to these brothers.
Like it's enough. We didn't really know what to do, so we just took to the streets. There's no regular shit, like no going to the mall, like no movies, like I meet up with my friends like in the street now or in a meeting organizing. Like I'm more exhausted if I was sitting not doing anything. Like I spine, like this is my city.
If we don't get it, if we don't get it, if we don't get it, shut it down.
Man, it feels like we in like this weird ongoing like war with the police now. We didn't really know they had the weapons that they had for real. You know, like we knew it was there, but we didn't know it was there to use on us. We thought maybe, you know, you kick in the door, you bring the bat around, you know, you call SWAT team, somebody holding somebody hostage in the house or something. A lot of energy has been invested into, and I think it's become a very tiresome thing, but it's kind of liberating at the same time.
We here for the country. That's what these are for. We want the damn work. That's what these are for. We get the same ammunition you use. This is an emergency zone. At 12 o'clock, then you will be arrested. I guarantee you that. You want peace? You lock that man up, and then you charge him, and everything will be all right. Maybe the black people go home, but till they charge him, ain't gonna be no justice, man. If that was me, they'd have been locked me up. They'd have been the first-degree charges, first-degree murder. We need that. Flat line. They pushing from both sides. What we gonna do? We gonna stand our ground.
A white man cannot get away with killing a young black man for whatever reason. He ain't have a gun and knife, that's execution style. I'm out here. You gotta shoot me, I'ma fight for what I believe in. I've been shot twice, I'm still here. Been stabbed 15 times, I'm still here. So come with it, I'm out here.
It's fuck the police for real, cause it's niggas in them suits too. On God, fuck them niggas, on my mama. And the police. Fuck the system, fuck let them handle it, I'm cool. I'm saying they been handling it, they been fucking up. So it's on us. It's on me, bro, and the rest of us, you heard?
However they want this to play out, we gonna play it out with them. We not leaving tonight. We not leaving, we out here every day, all day. They can't, a curfew? We too grown for a curfew. Straight up. Everybody 21 and over in the house. We not playing that tonight. We've been running for too long. We can't get them. We can't get them this. They release the name. Bonter, Fulton. He need Pacific. He need to be there. We not giving them this.
Happening right here. The whole world is watching. We letting y'all know what it is.
The ensuing year was postponed. Again, the dilemma of whether or not to accept the refugees depends on the will of each country. The Europe Fortress strives marathon meetings and agreements aren't leading more than words. Migratory control services and landing platforms are used for the new fantasies, agreeing the European Council. Faces with a crisis, which more than migratory has become political. Their speeches no longer fit. They do not finish assuming that while there are conflicts, there will be people who want to flee. There will be refugees.
For the fourth consecutive year, Turkey is ranked as the fourth country to hold in this nation.
According to the latest report of the persecution, conflict, poverty and widespread violence in the countries of origin, the figure reached the exiles in the longing fight to find a place to provide them with a safe haven and allow them to live a place where the welfare state still persists, headed towards Europe with the expectation of being received according to the legislation established. International with the Article 40 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights that in the case of persecution, everyone has the right to seek asylum and enjoy in other countries. However, the European nation is recruiting receiving refugees, always using the same excuses: excessive spending, political publics to house these people, the fear of massive arrival labor Asia in the lack of war, the difficulties of assimilation, the social securities and the platforms of terrorism. The phenomenon has taken 12 dimensions, arising in some countries by the whole continent, as an effective reaction of many, which complicate this expectation of the ones who aspire to refuge. Closing their doors to disperse, the EU's countries have tried by all means that asylum seekers cannot enter the territory, and even invest 3 times more protecting legislation to detach itself from all responsibility. As did in the year 2017, it was agreed that Turkey would house aroused, mostly from Syria, to change the quota of 6 billion euros of the maintenance of the same. With this treaty, today Turkey has the home to 3.5 million people, the nation with the largest number of refugees in the world. He is followed by Pakistan with 1.4 million, Uganda with 1.4 million as well, and Lebanon with 98.100, Islamic Republic of Islam with 1900-400.
It's the beginning of the Syrian conflict. It's been heartening to see many people in these countries doing what they can to call on their governments to keep the border open and to gather food and water for Syrian refugees. We call on the Jordanian government to keep the border open and for other countries in the region to step up and receive the fleeing civilians.
As the immigration crisis intensifies and the least EU summit, several leaders struggle to overcome the deep difference and divisions in the present migratory issue. After 9 hours of debate, they signed a controversial agreement, which, although it was signed by all nations, has not left many countries satisfied.
In general, after an intense discussion of the most difficult issue for the European Union, migration, it is a good. We have agreed on 5 guidelines, but there are still 2 for our common European still to done to fill the different views.
The signed agreement has many points to refer the measures to limit the entry of illegal migrants to the territory of the community bloc, to fight against the traffickers and create centers of control of the migrants in Europe. The latter have raised controversies since there will be selection of the possible refugees for reasons, war, religion or sex, while economic migrants will be returned to their countries. They will be deported. These sites will be called landed platforms, and they will be installed voluntarily only if the host country so desires. Of the summits of Brussels, where until the position were recognized as migrants.
At the end of this European Council, we have a more responsible and more united Europe. Italy is no longer alone.
Is Europe really more responsible? Is it the question that remains in the air after the assertion of the Italian president, who has been characterized by the implementation of the 3 million migrant policy, which closes the door to his country's humanitarian vessels with migrants on board, including Chile, who was carrying 230 immigrants from Libya, from death in the Mediterranean Sea. It was stranded for 6 days. Fortunately, ships belong to an NGO dedicated to the rescue of people who are in the shipwreck, who was attained by the authorities of Bamako to revise its port state.
Outrageous that we are held here in port at the moment because we have no reason to be kept here. We are complying with every law existing. We are properly registered in the National Dutch Ships Register, for example. And it's not our plan, for example, to bring all the refugees we save to Malta or to Italy even. We want to make sure that the refugees are fairly distributed in Europe in the end. And this can only be done on the land in the end. So, I mean, we need a safe port to disembark, and then the sharing of refugees in Europe has to be done on the land.
As a sign of the reaction of the justice applied by the government and the immigration policies of Conte, an activist climbed to the top of the statue of Christopher Columbus in Barcelona and placed an inflatable life jacket that said "Open Arms."
We decided to make this action to spread the word, to tell the people what's happening, and to tell the people that all human rights are on stage right now, and we have to really go out and defend.
The violation of human rights has been the constant result of the failed military measures carried out by the countries that make up the European Union. Those blinded in the pride close their borders to the most needy, regardless of the not even see, living in the depths of the sea their dreams, their desires. Others raising this hope to reach in the place that they were running.
Between the years of 2016 and 2017, the European Union and Turkey made a project, an agreement where they financed with 3 billion euros to stop the flow that goes from Turkey to the Greek coasts, and that then they continued to the rest of Europe. However, the non-compliance of the European Union to give shelter to the refugees, just like the conflicts are not being stopped in regions, for example in Africa and Middle East, has made that people in transit to seek new alternatives and try to go to other places. What has made the flow to be outgoing more passage, earth cultures. But the crisis in the Middle East and Asia has become one of the main refugee hosting countries with almost 3.5 million. Many live in the refugee camps, but most people walk the streets, live in the neighborhoods and work in their business. children live with whom he arrived in Istanbul. My name is Abu Mesen. I'm a hairdresser for a year and 8 months, and I come from Iraq and I came to work. We Arabs find out between us, and so here they all only come Arabs and very few Turks who come out to cut their hair. I left Iraq in 2015. I came to Turkey to look for work, but I didn't find it. And then I went to Europe. I was in Finland. There I stayed a year and 4 months, but I didn't find accommodation. So I came back from Finland to Iraq, where I went for my family, and I brought her to live in Turkey. Right now I live with my 2 sons and my wife in a house thanks to teleSUR. Those conditions forced me out. I came to Istanbul because the work's in Istanbul. You can only live in Istanbul. In other places it's very difficult to find work and live. Iraq's conditions are getting worse every day. In Iraq it's impossible to live peacefully. It's impossible for me to live there, and especially during the elections because of the conditions. I wish I could go back to my land, but right now it's impossible. Turkey is a neighboring country with Syria. Its proximity has made it the country with the largest number of Syrian refugees, but most of them intend to cross over to Greece. In 2016, the European Union and Turkey closed a millionaire agreement to curb the flow to Europe. We think that there are some 4 million refugees. In Turkey, these are not official figures, but the reporter, for example, the official figure, about 3.5 million. And some of them are not Syrian refugees. Must also say that, speaking of the refugees, especially the last 10 years, we refer to the Syrians, and that is a shame, but Afghans, in reality we have refugees from all over the world, and these not Syrian refugees are 360,000 according to the records published by the United Nations. Turkey actually long was not a destination for refugees. For example, it's not a destination where we want to stay. Rather, Turkey has been a country of transit. But especially after 2014 and 2015, the agreements of returning with the European Union, and in the European Union, above all, but in its eastern borders and within the European Union, the fences with concertines and walls. Also, by putting a serious sea control and the ditches and military measures. And these measures of security was a policy. Refugees again was Turkey. Refugees are required to stay in Turkey, for example. That they want or don't want to should stay because they are within the labor market in a very precarious way, and there is no control instead of work. In fact, many are working without the contract, especially in the textile sector, services and agriculture, for example. We must stress those children working. Therefore, law says that they may have access to education. This program is over this year. It was a 2-year program. This year is over. And we don't know whether to continue or not. Therefore, there is uncertainty. There's been 1.5 million and 1.8 million children, and these 450,000 were enrolled. But they enrolled them. We don't know if they went to school or not. There is a mechanism to check it. Since the beginning of the war, in some other words, some came very young, others were here. Talk about children younger than 7 or 8 years. They live in Turkey, but do not have access to service in Turkey. And one of the children, a very important part of them, is working in various jobs. What is in Europe, such as right or access to services, fruits of the policies of the welfare state, that allows having access to service in Turkey, does not exist. Speaking of all of that, the debate over borders, the problem of borders, we say that a humanitarian crisis there is, as they say, if that is what is not a humanitarian crisis. What we found with the arrival of the Syrian community is that the issue is a matter of rights, but the authorities, both of Turkey as in Europe, they have as if they were a humanitarian crisis. And this community, I'm talking about Syrians, is trapped as other refugee communities. Maybe when we talk about the best welfare state, we must prioritize part of the human rights and the values of humanity and fight according to this principle. Thus, both for refugees in Europe and in Turkey, we can form a better basis for refugees. The European Union is far from solving the Mediterranean drama, with the thousands of deaths each year by part of the people in transit who aim to make the right of the art. 14 of the Human Rights Declaration. Finally, looks like the sheltering process that has been taken into action and the 2015 agreements of sheltering more than 160,000 refugees has failed inside the Union, and it has been mainly rejected with countries with force of the extreme right wings of racism and xenophobia. That is making hard and making it the Mediterranean becoming untilted in the biggest of the 21st century.
Uprzejmie zapytujemy, kiedy pan minister opracuje normy zanieczyszczeń dla środowiska odnośnie zanieczyszczeń gazowych.
Żeby nie śmierdziało, żeby...
Presents big business, negligent conditions behind the food industry, and the indifference
to enjoy the cultural diversity that defines our South American essence. Come along and find out the story behind these real lives. Saturdays, only on teleSUR. Enjoy our programming from Monday to Friday, where you'll find the best information on innovation, conservation, human well-being, and human rights. Keep up to date on the latest innovations in sun. Guide your body. Environmental awareness is required to preserve our Earth. Undergo your transformation on Green Zone. We defend the struggles of peoples in resistance fighting for their rights. Borders. All about equity, diversity, and respect for identity on By Gender. Every day we feature a wide variety of content. Only on tele.
Yeah, national security is one of the most powerful notions in modern times. To swindle, I think, people, to do anybody's interests that are like cancers feeding on society.
Watch a series where the U.S. has served as a tool of social control. War. Saturday. Only on teleSUR.
The ruling world order has always subjugated the masses. But who are the actors behind every move? What are their real interests? We analyze every move on weekdays, only on teleSUR. In a world infested by inequalities, abuse of power and injustice. The American journalist Abby Martin covers the struggle for fundamental rights worldwide, deepening into the search of files which uncover the empire's strategies through our screen and web platform in English. The Empire Files with Abby Martin. Tuesday, only on teleSUR. The Pakistani journalist Tariq Ali examines the world today. Mondays, only on teleSUR. With developing events being presented through analysis, our coverage transcends borders. With renowned journalist Walter Martinez.
Salud amigos. De nuestra querida, contaminada y única nave espacial.
Dossier. Weekdays.
Then what happens next?